There are proven farming methods that let almost anyone grow real food, no matter where they live. Here are 12 of them, counting down to the most important. Number 12 starts with a fast, practical win, fixing poor soil right where you stand. Whether you are dealing with sandy patches, heavy clay, or compacted city lots, a simple amendment can make a world of difference. Spread 2 gallons of compost per square foot over your growing area. Then use a garden fork every 6 to 8 inches to loosen the ground. This core aeration step lets roots and water move freely. For sticky clay, mix in some coarse sand. For loose, dry sand, add peat or coconut coir to hold moisture. Field trials from the University of California show that this routine can boost your soil's water-holding capacity by 15% and raise tomato yields by 12% within 3 years. These changes are measurable, affordable, and can be done this week, setting up any garden for healthier growth. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more proven ways to turn any space into a thriving food source. Number 11 brings rainwater harvesting into the spotlight, a practical way to supply your garden with free, naturally soft water. The basic formula is simple. 1 inch of rain falling on a 1,000 square foot roof yields about 600 gallons. Even a small 200 square foot shed can fill a standard 55-gallon barrel after a single moderate storm. Setting up involves a gutter, a food-grade barrel, a first flush diverter to discard the dirtiest runoff, and a fine mesh to block mosquitoes. Most city codes allow up to 5,000 gallons without a permit, but always check local rules before installing. Gravity can feed drip lines for raised beds, or you can use a small pump for larger setups. Home gardens using rain barrels have reported a 40% drop in water bills, with seasonal savings of $5 to $7 per barrel. Clean and inspect the system annually to keep water flowing safely. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Number 10 brings seed saving into the spotlight, a powerful way to secure your next harvest and cut costs, even on a windowsill or balcony. For dry-seeded crops like beans and peas, let pods mature fully, then air dry them on a screen for a week before sealing in glass jars with a silica packet at 40 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Wet-seeded crops like tomatoes need a different approach. Scoop out the pulp, let it ferment in a jar for 2 to 3 days, then rinse and dry the seeds. This simple fermentation step destroys pathogens and boosts germination rates to 92%, compared to just 78% for non-fermented seeds. By saving seeds from 5 varieties each year, many home growers report saving $60 to $90 annually while building a stash of locally adapted genetics. Test a handful of saved seeds each spring to check for viability and always store them in a cool, dry spot. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Number 9 highlights the power of crop rotation and companion planting, a classic farmer's strategy for healthier beds and bigger harvests. Start with a 4-year cycle. Plant tomatoes and peppers the first year, follow with beans or peas. To fix nitrogen, switch to cabbage or kale. Then finish with leafy greens like lettuce or spinach. This rotation breaks up pest and disease cycles, cutting issues like fusarium wilt by nearly 30% and boosting yields by 10%, as shown in University of Illinois trials. Pairing crops with the right companions adds another layer of protection. Basil. Next to tomatoes, marigolds with beans and borage near squash all help repel pests and attract pollinators. A simple notebook or garden app makes tracking the cycle easy, ensuring you never repeat a family in the same spot 2 years in a row. These systems work in raised beds, containers, or full plots. No large farm is required. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. 8th place goes to succession planting and intercropping, a method that transforms static beds into rolling production lines. By sowing fast growers like radishes every 2 weeks, alongside slower crops such as carrots, you create a steady harvest instead of a single glut. The secret lies in the 3-row pattern: 1 deep-rooted crop, 1 shallow-rooted, and a ground cover in the same bed. This setup makes the most of both time and space, letting roots share rather than compete. In practice, a simple radish with carrot example can yield up to 1.8 times more produce from the same area compared to single crop beds. The staggered approach spreads out labor and buffers soil temperature, while layered roots capture more light and nutrients. Even in a 4-foot wide bed, this system keeps food coming week after week, all without needing extra land. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Number 7 brings vertical growing into focus, a strategy that transforms flatbeds and balconies into 3-dimensional food factories. By installing a 1.5-meter high trellis built from pallets or pipes and spacing posts 1 meter apart, you can train cucumbers, beans, and peas to climb upward instead of sprawling. This setup turns every square meter of ground into a tower of productivity, multiplying cucumber yields by as much as 2.5 times compared to ground-level vines. With plants spaced just 30 centimeters apart, there is still room beneath the trellis for quick-growing greens like lettuce. The benefits go beyond space. Improved airflow around the leaves cuts disease risk, while a drip line at the base delivers water right to the roots, reducing total irrigation needs by 35%. Vertical systems make it possible to stack harvests and save water, even in tight spaces. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Number 6 puts the spotlight on containers, a flexible solution for renters, balcony gardeners, and anyone short on ground space. The key is matching pot size to each crop. Tomatoes need at least 20 liters, peppers do best in 15 liters, and herbs can thrive in just 10 liters. For soil, a simple 1-to-1-to-1 mix of compost, coconut coir, and perlite balances drainage with moisture retention, keeping roots healthy and resilient. Watering every 3 to 4 days is usually enough, but adjust for heat and sun. Studies show that giving tomatoes a 20-liter pot can boost fruit weight by 30% compared to smaller containers, all thanks to more room for roots to spread. Portable containers mean you control the soil and can move plants for better light or protection, making food growing possible almost anywhere. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Number 5 puts raised beds in the spotlight, a solution that creates a safe, controlled growing space, even on contaminated or compacted ground. Start by building beds at least 12 inches deep, using rot-resistant lumber, bricks, or recycled materials. For sites with questionable soil, lay down a heavy-duty HDPE liner as a barrier before adding new soil. The fill recipe is simple but powerful. Blend 50% screened topsoil, 30% rich compost, and 20% coarse sand. This mix delivers excellent drainage while holding nutrients and moisture. And it is proven to boost lettuce yields by 20% and cut weed growth by 15%. Raised beds warm up faster in spring, and they make it easy to maintain soil health year after year. While they require more setup than containers, the payoff is a long-lasting, productive garden that works almost anywhere. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Number 4 introduces the no-dig or sheet mulch method, a system that builds soil life from the top down with almost no heavy labor. Start by laying down a 5mm sheet of cardboard over your planting area to block weeds and hold moisture. On top of that, add a 5cm layer of finished compost, then cap everything with 10 centimeters of straw or wood chips. This sandwich protects delicate mycorrhizal fungi and earthworms that tillage would disrupt. Trials at the Rodale Institute found earthworm populations grew by 45% and water soaked in 25% faster compared to tilled plots. Weed pressure drops sharply within 4 to 6 weeks, and the need for repeated digging vanishes, saving about 30% of annual labor. No-dig beds are especially effective for small yards and community plots, where hauling in soil is not practical. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Number 3 turns the spotlight on mulch, a simple, powerful shield against drought and weeds. Laying down 2 to 4 inches of organic mulch, like straw, pine needles, or shredded leaves, creates a protective layer that locks in moisture and keeps soil temperatures steady. In Albuquerque's desert heat, this approach made a dramatic difference. Mulched beds held 48% more water at root depth during a month-long dry spell, and still produced 70% of a normal tomato harvest when bare soil beds failed. The key is coverage. Spread mulch evenly after planting and refresh it as it breaks down. This barrier not only slashes evaporation but also blocks sunlight from reaching weed seeds, cutting down on garden chores. Even pine needles can be used where straw is not available. By combining mulch with rainwater harvesting and deep watering, growers in any climate can stretch every drop and keep food production steady through long, dry spells. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. In second place, compost stands out as the engine that transforms kitchen scraps and yard waste into a powerhouse of fertility. The hot composting method speeds up this process. Use a simple 2-to-1 ratio of brown to green materials such as dry leaves or shredded newspaper for browns, and fresh grass clippings or vegetable peels for greens. Chop everything into pieces no larger than 2 centimeters to help microbes break it down quickly. Pile the mix and turn it every 5 to 7 days, making sure the core temperature reaches between 55 and 65 degrees Celsius for at least 3 days. This thermophilic phase not only destroys weed seeds and pathogens, it also produces a finished compost in just 6 weeks, which is twice as fast as cold piles. The resulting amendment is rich in nitrogen, averaging about 1.5%, which is 2% higher than most store-bought composts. Proper balance and regular turning keep odors down and ensure a crumbly, dark product that feeds your soil and every crop that follows. Compost is the input that powers no-dig beds, revitalizes tired soil, and closes the loop on household waste. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. And finally, in first place, soil health stands as the master key to growing food anywhere. Every handful of dark, crumbly soil is built on organic matter, the living engine that drives water retention, nutrient cycling, and resilience to drought. For home growers, the target is clear. Add 3% organic matter each year and check your progress with a simple annual soil test kit. Adding just 1% more organic matter lets your soil hold an extra half gallon of water per square foot and can boost yields by 25%. No-dig beds double earthworm counts compared to tilled plots, while aggregate stability and microbial diversity climb with every layer of compost and mulch. All the tactics in this countdown, including mulching, composting, and rotating crops, feed this living foundation. Healthy soil is the difference between struggling plants and a thriving harvest, even in containers or city yards. For every new season, start by building the soil, and every other secret will work better. Subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing for more practical guides on natural growing, soil health, and self-sufficient food production. Across all 12 secrets, one pattern stands out. Healthy soil and smart resource use matter more than perfect conditions. Anyone on a balcony, in poor dirt, or with limited space can grow real food by building life from the ground up. For more practical growing wisdom, subscribe to Roots and Natural Healing.